Kotsi, and I'm with my colleague Thamsanqa. And yeah, it's that day again. It's a Tuesday, it's a gloomy Tuesday where there's rains and floods all over the country. But hey, we are surviving it, just like the road going to election also. We don't know how it's going to turn out on the 29th of May, but hey, the weather seems to be telling us something different from here. But we'll get to it as time goes by. And I know this is our second interview, the first one that we had with which Thamsanqa actually conducted with the Democratic Alliance. And today, currently now, we're going to be talking to Mr. Erick Mohlapamaswi. Yeah, Mr. Erick Mohlapamaswi, who is the acting general secretary from the Congress of the People, known as COPE. And in this past weekend, in the coming weekend, they'll be unveiling the manifesto. And we all know that going to elections, political parties tend to unveil their manifestos. And what we know about manifestos,
it looks like Tebogo has just been disconnected by the internet. I think I will take over, and maybe that internet did us a favor, because COPE has already launched the manifesto, and we are just going to get a few highlights from what transpired over the weekend and what was said in the manifesto launch. Is that fine with you, Mr. Mohlapamaswi?
That's correct, sir. We've just launched, and you are right. And today I will be sharing with you what we said in the manifesto, and what is it that we are saying South Africans should vote for us for.
Yeah, and I think let's get straight into it. The party president, Mosiuoa Lekota, emphasized the right to self-defense in the remarks, while launching the manifesto. Could you expand on how COPE plans to ensure the safety of South Africans against criminal elements within the country? This idea of self-defense versus, community policing and, the sort of defense from criminals that we have become accustomed to as South Africans.
Yeah, as Congress of People, what we are saying is that we need to make sure that all of us are safe, as it is enshrined in the Constitution, and people have a right to life. And what was stressed in that particular launching, the president was emphatic on the point that South Africans are being killed. And mostly you find that, the foreign nationals, are committing these crimes. And so what we need to do is to make sure that South Africans themselves are having some skills on how to defend themselves. And for us to have the skills to defend ourselves is that, in the past, there has been some conscription. And this conscription, it means our youth must be at least, taken and be trained militarily, and then in the process of training our youth militarily, they will be acquiring skills on self-defense, and that is going to assist them in to make sure that the communities that they are staying in, our youth can be able to defend against criminals. So we want our youth that is disciplined, because when you are in military, you get to learn discipline. And then, but at the same time, we should not be caught off guard like what is happening. And the president emphasized that, some of the people who are foreign nationals who are coming into South Africa, those people are militarily equipped because they've been trained. Unfortunately, they are not absorbed in their countries, and they come here with skills. And that is why they can be able to perform such kind of actions that they are doing. So, one, our youth must be militarily equipped so that they can be able to defend the land. And in doing so, making sure that our borders too are no longer porous. We must make sure that most of our youth are absorbed in the most military and even in the police, so that we can have more police people, so that we can be able to man both internally and even at the borders. So that is
I
basically the message that was sent.
We do not be creating same problems for ourselves, because you'll be training people militarily and you do not have the capacity to absorb them as military officials for a very long time. What is going to happen with that skill if they can't use it within the military force itself?
Yeah, you know very well that when you are in military, you don't just only learn the skills of self-defense. There are those that go into military and are trained as mechanical engineers. You know, there are those that in military, then they learn the skills of civil engineering. There are those that are in military that they learn the skills of, they become doctors, but you become a doctor having a military background. So our youth, even if there is this conscription, they will still be taken through universities, they will still be taken through technical institutions. There is TVET colleges, they will still be taken through TUTs, but having this military background so that they can be able to, when they acquire such kind of skills as doctors, as mechanical engineers, but at the same time having skills of self-defense. So it is not only conscriptions that we're looking at, it is because, we want to make sure that our youth are balanced, the nurses and all those things. So that is the direction that we want to take.
Yeah, this point just makes me want to also get on, your views on immigration in South Africa, because it may sound like COPE has a view against the African foreign nationals who come here through our porous borders, as you're saying, and balance it with the element of crime. In the town that I live in, there is crime there, but a lot of people who are charged in courts and who are convicted of the crime in that particular town are not foreign nationals, but are South Africans themselves. Isn't the problem of crime a problem of crime rather than a problem of foreign nationals in South Africa?
If you have a crime that is committed in your community and committed by people of that particular community, at least that you can be able to manage it. But if you have an added advantage of foreign nationals who comes in, undocumented, and then even if when they commit crime, you can't even trace them, then it becomes even more difficult. So if you are a South African and you commit crime, we can be able to trace you and we know where to find you. But if the person is undocumented, so you can't even find the person because the person doesn't have an exact, that is one address, and the fingerprints don't even appear. So it becomes so prompt. So that is why we are saying, let's make sure that we close all the borders and we clear all these people who are undocumented so that we can be able to deal with the crime internally first. And if we can be able to manage our internal crime, then we'll be able to manage when people are coming in with documents. So that is the direction that Congress of the People is taking. And we are saying this must be prioritized. People's lives must be saved at all costs.
You also spoke of, in the manifesto, prioritizing sustained economic growth and, have outlined various strategies, including supporting advanced manufacturing and infrastructure projects. Can you discuss how COPE intends to implement these strategies and their potential impact on job creation and economic stability?
Okay, I'm just going to give an example. You're right. For you to be able to create jobs, you must make sure that you have stability in, stability in the economy, and even there is growth in the economy. So South Africa currently has not been performing well in economics, the economic growth. It has 3 negative growth, and then the last quarter it is just positive growth of 0.03, which is very minimal, one can say. But what I can tell you is that as Congress of the People, what we are saying is we are going to support advanced manufacturing and helping secure investment in technology and harnessing the nation's resources, drive innovation and competitiveness in our manufacturing sectors. Let's take, for example, we create industries and manufacturing industries in our communities. In the previously, I would say an example as Hammanskraal, as we were in Hammanskraal. Those who know Hammanskraal know very well that Hammanskraal had some industries, and it was good in industries, and it was manufacturing, shoes and other things in those industries. And people were just walking from their own homes to the industries and back, and the most people around Hammanskraal were employed and were absorbed by such kind of industry. So we need to make sure that we have such kind of industries in almost all townships. That our townships need to have industries so that our people can walk to their work placement and be able to perform and manufacture in their respective places. Currently, our people are doing their manufacturing in their own homes, which is not safe. We have people who are manufacturing gates, who are welding, who are doing welding and manufacturing gates, but they are doing that in their own homes. And then, the electricity that you have in your own homes, it's just for your own consumption in your home. But you need to take these people out of their homes, put them in an industry so that they can be able to produce, massively. And those people, you need to link them to the consumers, find a mentor who is going to take these people and make sure that they market their product, internally and even that is within South Africa and even overboard. So that is the kind of approach that we want to take as Congress of the People in order to make sure that there are industries in our villages and in our townships. And this goes with the local economic development. That when you do that, you will be growing the local economy of that particular. The money must be able to circulate 2 or 3 times before it is taken out of the community. So, in doing so, if the tables are manufactured, people will be able to have. If you're manufacturing beds, people will be having them, at less prices and all those things. They'll be cheaper. Unlike, they need to be transported, because, if they are transported for long distances, that is going to be a cost burdened on the consumers. So we want to create such kind of industries so that our people can be able to produce these things themselves and for consumption.
There was also mention of the need for reduction of the size of government and taking the national debt, which are definitely bold proposals within the manifesto. Now, what are the first steps COPE plans to take in this direction? How do you propose, to balance fiscal consolidation with the provision of essential services?
If you look at the national debt clock now, the national debt clock tells us that, South Africa is owing trillions. And in so doing, we are not winning as far as the national debt is concerned. But as Congress of the People, what we are saying is that we need to start collecting the money and servicing the debt and making sure that we limit the debt. There is one president who did that and who did it successfully, and that was President Thabo Mbeki, who successfully, reduced the national debt. And so we want to make sure that we follow the same path in order to make sure that we reduce the national debt, because so that we can be able to have money for ourselves and not owe such amount of money to the national debt.
You also address the need for social justice and equitable economic policies. How do you plan to confront and eradicate the scourge of poverty, unemployment, inequality, and the corruption in very practical terms? I know that you also addressed earlier in our engagement the reindustrialization through using the people in their homes who are already manufacturing, but you want to send them at a larger scale. Is that part of your strategies to deal with unemployment and inequality and poverty?
Most probably, you're right. That is how we think we can tackle that. When our youth, most of them needs to be able to do things for themselves. They need to use their hands in order to and be self-employed. Mostly you find that our people go to the universities, and when they come from universities in large numbers, they are expecting to be consumed and to be employed somewhere else. But what we want to say is that we want to make sure that our people can be able to create jobs themselves, and we need to finance the young people in order to make sure that they are self-employed. For example, why should a student who did agriculture be able to look for a job, whereas a person who did agriculture can be able to create a job himself or herself? Or we can be able to team them together, give them a piece of land, and they produce food for South Africa, as youngsters, and they be able to apply the knowledge they gained in agriculture in order to produce food for us. So now that is the kind of approach that we want to say, South Africans, all of us, we must be able to make sure that our young people are employed, because if we are not going to employ them, make sure that our people are employed and young people are employed and they are self-employed, we are then coming with a scourge of HIV/AIDS and then drugs. We have a problem of drugs because youth in their nature are very energetic. And so we need to make sure that we channel their energy in the right direction. And the right direction is to make sure that you give them responsibilities to do, give them jobs, and they will be able to buy their own houses. They will be able to buy their own cars that they want. You don't have to stay in an RDP house, not because, whereas you can be able to do it yourself. If you get a job, you'll be able to build a house of your own choice instead of fighting for the 350. So you don't have to fight for the 350.
Now, also on the as we delve deeper into the crime issue mentioned in the manifesto, you're proposing strong measures, including removal of bail provisions for certain crimes. How do you reconcile these measures, with the principle of justice, fairness, and what safeguards will be in place to ensure that people are not, wrongly accused and they are detained in places where they are not supposed to be because you've removed provisions such as bail?
We agree and we understand that the person has to go through the course of law before the person can be, say is guilty or not guilty. But just imagine a person who has raped a young person, and it is evident that this person has raped this young person, and this person is going to walk the streets again. How many young people do we want this person to rape so that before this person can be put in jail? So now we are protecting the community. We are saying if a person has just raped or killed these young children, or has killed this woman who's so powerless, who cannot even defend himself or herself, this person must stay in jail up until such a case that he's either being found guilty or not guilty. So that the society must be safe. That is what we are saying. We want safety of the society. Look, we have a case whereby a young girl, as we are speaking now, they are still looking for a young girl in Cape Town. And nobody knows where this young girl is. So we need to make sure that our kids are protected. They can be able to go and play without fear at their parks, knowing very well that, they are very safe. And even our parents, when we go to work, leaving our kids behind, sometimes you can't concentrate when you are at work, knowing very well that your kids at home are not safe. So we must create that. So that is why even the president went to an extent of saying, our constitution is not only just fixated. We need to look at amending it and thinking about bringing back the death penalty. Because there are some of the people that, we are financing them, we are feeding them. We are feeding them. They have been sentenced. We are feeding them, and they enjoy killing. Once they are given parole, they go back again to commit the same crimes. So how do you do about such kind of people? So South Africans should be able to debate this issue. Should be able to debate this issue and make sure that, we know exactly what we want. As Congress of the People, we'll open it up. We will open it up, won't close it, to say, South Africans, decide yourselves. what about death penalty? And if the majority, if a referendum, we can go for a referendum, and the majority says we must bring back the death penalty, so be it. We want safety, because people do as they wish, because they know very well that I'm going to spend my 20 years, I'm going to spend my 25 years, and they're going to be responsible for my food and for my safety. They even go on strike whilst they're in jail, for that matter, and say they demand better food, they demand all those other things. But whereas they've taken lives. And they're being financed by the people, they are being financed by the taxes of the people whom they have murdered. Thank you so much.
Now, on the, what's your take on, what are your plans for, energy security in the country, given that is the one thing that, not just the only thing, but one of the most troublesome issues in our country at the moment, energy security, and how it affects people. What are your plans as COPE to make sure that we've got the more sustainable provision of energy in this country?
What we told our people in our manifesto is that maybe let me simplify it. God gave us the sun, and God gave us the wind. Why don't we make sure that we have rooftop energy production, whereby you make sure that we have our houses converting, making electricity for ourselves. And then if that is made in abundance, that can be at least sold to whoever is producing energy. So we need to make sure that we have solars on rooftops, and our people are be able to, we finance this as government. We finance that we have people generating solars having solars at their rooftop, and they generate electricity. And that is going to alleviate the load of Eskom and generation of electricity by Eskom. So that is the plan that we want to do as Congress of the People. Having solar energy, having wind turbines in order to generate where they are, for example, in the Northern Cape and Durban or whatever, where there is strong winds crossing there, we have that kind of electricity there. So let's go and make sure that we generate electricity and alleviate whatever load shedding that we are facing. We can do it. There is money, there is budget, there is fiscus. But all what we need to do is let's put it into place and apply it, and make sure that all our people, especially the industries, that they need to make sure that they don't just only depend on Eskom.
Now, I think towards the conclusion of this engagement, you mentioned, the Thabo Mbeki, former President Thabo Mbeki, in one section, and this reminds me of the fact that the formation of COPE happened after Thabo Mbeki was voted out of the presidency of the ANC, and when he was removed from the presidency of the country, and it was sort of also in protest by Mr. Lekota to being led by former President Jacob Zuma. Now that President Jacob Zuma is out of power in the ANC, is no longer in government, why is it that COPE is not folding its chairs and going back to the ANC?
It is not only that people who left Congress of the People were protesting against Jacob Zuma. Yes, he was one of those people, but it is not that. You look at after his departure as the president, we still continued with corruption. We just had the former speaker who just resigned very recently, and all because of corruption. So now there is a scourge of corruptions that is taking place within the ruling party, and because they feel that they are entitled, to benefit. Some would say, this is our time to eat. And so now, if people have that kind of a mentality to say, I am going into government so that I can feed myself, that is the wrong premise that the person needs to start at. So we must make sure that, we go there as employees of the people and we work for the people. And there is nothing that we are going to benefit ourselves, but we must make sure that we better the middle class. We must increase, as Congress of the People were saying, we must increase the middle class. So meaning that we don't want people at the poverty level. All people must be above the poverty line and be in the middle class. And that has been created because we all deserve it. No one deserves to be living in poverty lines.
And finally, with the polls suggesting, changes in the political landscape, can you discuss what is, COPE's stance on forming coalitions? Are these specific parties, COPE is open to collaborating with? In fact, are there specific parties that you are willing to collaborate with, and what are the non-negotiables in such arrangements?
We are Congress of the People is going to approach coalition in an open mind. We don't have to set rules and whatever. We go there in an open mind, as long as the common goal is to make sure that communities, the people of South Africa are going to benefit. We will be able to formulate coalitions in that respect. So that is why we avoided to go into coalitions before the elections. It is best for us to go for elections, and after the elections, we'll be able to go into coalitions. So we don't have to create a group that says, we are going to fight 1, 2, 3, 4. No, let's come back after the elections and sit down and say, this is what we are going to do, and then let's see what we can do. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it works, it works.
There are political parties that we've spoken to, and they all express their confidence in their ability to master an outright victory in this coming election. Do you also have those kind of ambitions as COPE?
Our ambitions, where we are now, we had challenges. As a matter of fact, we are taking responsibility as Congress of the People to say, Congress of the People had challenges, and almost all of you know the challenges that we faced. And then now we have just found stability as an organization. And what we need to do is, we are not going to dream so high that, we think about, it becomes a pipe dream. But what we are saying is, we need to gradually grow our people in the national legislature, and then even in the provincial legislatures. So that is what we need to do. Gradually grows the numbers in the national and even in the provincial, and then up until we'll say there would be victory. So we cannot talk of victory now as Congress of the People, but we can say we need to grow the numbers so that people can have confidence in ourselves again.
Thank you very much. That is Mr. Erick Mohlapamaswi of the Congress for the People, COPE, after the launch of their manifesto over the past weekend. And we thank you very much, sir, for having allowed us the opportunity to peek into the minds of the leadership of COPE around these issues that affect our country.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. We'll be back with the next one at 12.